Now, President Trump is still the most unpopular president in modern history. His current approval rating is somewhere around 40%. It's an average of about 43. And every time he has a bump in his approval ratings, it ends up going down probably about a week or so later, usually after he either says something stupid, discriminates against some other small minority group, or does something, did I mention does something stupid, or commits a crime. I think that's the third one. Now, it could be, of course, because he's an idiot, or that the fact the only legislative accomplishment that he has to come out of the Trump administration is giant tax cuts for rich people that have not actually helped anyone except for their large, wealthy, CEOs, corporations, and CEOs and shareholders. Nonetheless, the president decided he was going to make some excuses for his consistently poor, very sad approval ratings as he ready to depart from a disastrous state visit to the UK. I've been talking about that visit. Again, it has been very sad and super, super embarrassing. Now, he, of course, took to his favorite medium, Twitter, to decry the press. Quote, "If the totally corrupt media was less corrupt, I would be up by 15 points in the polls based on our tremendous success with the economy. Maybe best ever." Now, look, I'm going to let you finish, Trump, but Bill Clinton had the best economy of all time. Or at least from what I can remember. Now, okay, Bill Clinton was horrible in about 100 different ways, right? But you can't say that the economy wasn't better under Bill Clinton than it is under Trump. It was pretty good back then. And of course, Clinton made some changes that led to our current predicament, but that's not really what I want to focus on here. I just wanted to make a Kanye joke. Anyway, he continues, "If the corrupt media was actually fair, I would be up by 25 points. Now, first 15, but no, 15 wasn't good enough. No, it had to be 25. Okay, fun. Now, nevertheless, he continues, "Despite fake news, we're doing great." Well, then why are you complaining and saying that I would be up by 25% or 15% if you were already doing great? And by the way, 43%, that's his average polling number. That is not great. That is abysmal. That is terrible. He has never cracked 50%, which most other presidents have been able to do so, but not Trump. He is deeply, deeply unpopular. Sad. But now look, he says, and he only says that the media isn't fair because they don't kiss his ass like Fox News. Fox News, every day you turn it on, and there's Hannity kissing his ass. There's that one guy that I always seem to forget his name, Lou Dobbs, that always kisses his ass. I mean, look, he's got that, most of that channel. Look, to be fair, some of the hosts do a pretty decent job. Chris Wallace, from time to time, even though he's deeply conservative, and I disagree with him, he at least agrees on facts. And then Shepard Smith. But most of the other hosts, Maria Bartiromo, terrible. I think she's like Fox Business or CNBC now or whatever. But nonetheless, disaster, right? But most of Fox News kisses his ass. And now, here's the thing. I actually criticize the media as well, but I do not do it for the same reason of Trump that Trump does. They're basically a protector of the status quo, protectors of the establishment. And so that's why you see so much hate against Bernie Sanders and people who want to change the system. And for example, Politico has just been on a tear against Bernie Sanders, The Hill, etc. All these establishment outlets are pushing Biden and attacking Sanders. And so, look, if you want to push back against that, their establishment bias, perfectly fine. But that is not the reason Trump does it. No, he wants to use them to explain away his terrible poll numbers. That's what he does. I must have a scapegoat because nothing can ever be my fault. And that's the way he runs. Now, maybe after this, his most ardent supporters will defend him. But most people are not buying his explanation. For example, on Twitter, Andy Wheatley actually had a criticism on this. Surprise. Hey, it's the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Glad to see your priorities. Well, there you go. Otto English said, give it a rest. It's D-Day today, and we're commemorating that. Show a little dignity and decorum for 24 hours. To that I say, who do you think you're dealing with? Really? He continues, you're the 72-year-old leader of the free world, not a hysterical teenager complaining about how unfair everything is. Oh, no, yeah. No, he is basically the hysterical teenager. Yeah. Roger says, you're just saying random numbers now. 27 Starlord says, wow, 15 points, 25 points. I just can't wait for the wholly accurate Donald Trump predictive polling company to finally be announced. And I'm sure it would be tremendous. It would come as a great relief to the American people against the fake news media machine, always skewing the polls, unless they're positive polls of Donald Trump. Lion King Lee says, but your impeachment ratings are way up. Good job, buddy. Christine Kennedy basically says, toddler in chief. Basically. Dr. Mindermass says approval rating is based on more than just the economy, pointing out something serious. It doesn't matter how good the job numbers look if you're still an execrable human being. I can't say that word. I said that word earlier. I cannot say that word now. I have a difficult time with that. But it's a good tweet anyway. Roger Phillips says, so it's a bit like huge crowds that welcomed you in London. The only crowds were those demonstrating against you. I didn't get to cover that story. But basically, he's like, what? I didn't see any crowds. What crowds? And then like 2 seconds later, he's like, I saw the crowds. They were very small. I thought you just said, see, that's what Donald Trump does. He contradicts himself several times in the same like span of a few seconds. It's really, it's a skill, man. One that I would hope I would never have to master. Okay, anyway. Now, Sven Henrik says, maybe try some politics of inclusion, not constant division. Just a thought. Yeah, but then that's actually hard, and it's just easier to throw out red meat to the base. Darren Bell asks, can you go one single day without whining? Just one day would be nice. Some of us need a break. I hear you on that, brother. Thorsten says, Trump's response to the 75th D-Day anniversary today. So what did he do? Does he condemn war? Does he sympathize with the veterans? Or does he fight the media? Well, we know the answer to that. And finally, not finally, but Tom said, if only the media did not report on things I did and said. Yeah, I know it'd be so much easier, wouldn't it, for him? And finally, Caro says, even when not in the USA, Trump is a whiny little baby. Sad baby. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.